right, class. We're going to do part 2 of our tree lizard here, and this little gecko guy is definitely lime green. He has a bunch of different colors. You see this little bit of teal going through here. You see a little bit of the orangey type colors in the shadows, but there's also some in his body that's kind of an orangey red. And then back here, this is a really dark gray. And then there's some little dots of dark gray. He is highly textured. Do you have to put in every single dot of that, of those on his belly? No, you don't. So we're going to start off by choosing the colors that we want. And I picked out a bunch of greens. And we're going to do the same thing that we always did in class, the exact same thing. Now here's a very lime green. Do you see this color in our guy? So we're going to set that aside. And this pale green color, not quite. We're looking for that tealish color. Let's try this one. Some of these I may need to sharpen in order to find that. You know what? I'm thinking that first color is a little more closer from the greens that I have, other than these brownish colors. These are definitely earth tones over here. So these are the bluish greens, regular greens. And so from there, this chestnut color, it's pretty red, would be a good color for the red spots. And then I'm probably going to use that 90% gray to do these spots. You know, I think I'm just going to stick with sepia. I had chosen that first, and then I put it back, but that is really a darker brown, not a total gray color. So I'm going to go with that, and I think that's the colors we're going to choose for our little gecko. And we are going to need to carefully leave this space along his stomach, and we're just going to put dots there. And they're going to be dots that overlap dots and stuff like that from the picture that we have here. And get rid of some of these little lines where we actually did a transfer on this one. So I want you to see all of these tiny little dots. It looks like round Minecraft or something. So it's a very if you just did like all green, you wouldn't be able to get the white dots there. So you kind of have to do the dots. Now I'm going to turn this over and show you guys a couple of things. So if we use this color to lay down our base color for our gecko, and I'm going to kind of burnish it, but not 100%. And then we try to put these red spots on. Notice how well they show up, these reddish spots. This color is chestnut. It's a brown, and you can do any reddish brown color you have. So if you have golden ochre or sienna, any of the sienna browns are going to look this reddish. If you can't get red out of there, you need to get your kind of your Santa-ish red. It's a brighter red. Don't get the purpley red. And it can either be, this is the kind of orangier red, but look what it looks like on top of green, right? So it is definitely redder, but this is very red. I mean, you can look at it and see which one you would like to choose. And you could even do a combination of colors, or you can do a you know, put the red down, put a light coat of brown on top. So whichever one you want to do, I wanted to show you that you're going to put those spots on. So guess what we get to do? We get to color the whole thing in. Now I want you to put that brighter green in on the legs and stuff, and right around the jawline, there's some of that brighter green. And then as we get towards the tail, you're going to blend the green of the body with a little bit of that brown, and then it's going to get really brown on the tip. Okay, so that's pretty basic. Lots and lots of layers on our gecko guy here. I did not choose colors for the, should have took the, let the green kind of stop here, but you know, you're going to put that reddish brown on top anyway. So, anyway, if the, green doesn't blend in 100%, you know, you can always use your colorless blender, which we seem to be using a lot since we're not at school, to use our Mona Lisa. And you can even go right over the eye. So I'm not going dark, but I am going right over the entire eye, just like I'm going over all these spots. Always practice, you know, flipping over your paper, the paper that you're actually using. And I don't have the arm on the other side. I'm just going to put it in. There we go. It's opposite this one. Very good. Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to have to figure out a new way to make dots. I didn't leave this area white. There is one right there. That's okay. We can always go back with a white pen or tiny little bit of acrylic paint, or the tiny little brush, whatever we need to do to make those little white dots. I'm not going to take this pushing harder green, just part way down the tail. Looks kind of like his body is laying on top of those back legs. when I traced him off, I just traced off the larger spots. I didn't do any of the tail, as you can see, or anything like that. So you can just, don't worry that you have to sit there and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You don't have to do that. Just make them, you know, evenly spaced apart. These are a little bit larger stripes, but they're same distance as these that are getting smaller apart. And then only on this last little bit are they actually getting a little bit closer together. So just FYI, I noticed that as I was drawing it off. And you can lightly burnish any more of these little white spots from the paper with your colorless blender. I'm not going to do it here on the stomach because I want to try to do those dots. We're going to try and see if they work. Right now I'm just getting rid of the white of the paper. Y'all remember at the very beginning of school when in color pencil where I was showing y'all the circles, different ways to burnish and stuff like that. Showed different ways to blend in colors as well as how to burnish. You can always use like a green watercolor pencil, a green watercolors. You can use markers. I love using my Tombow markers or even the Copic markers and stuff, and they will get rid of that white of the paper for you, and then you could do your color pencil right on top. I don't know if y'all remember that, but it's been a long time since September. And I just burnished the stomach. Okay. All right, so you get to choose at this point which color you want to put on top of your green, and there might actually be a little bit of blue in this gecko. Yeah, that's gonna work. That's good. To add another layer if you wanted to, and I would choose kind of a tealy green, kind of a bluish green, possibly, what is that, aquamarine. So if you want to see what that would look like to add a little bit more depth to his color, you can see how that would add a little bit to his color. And then you're going to want to burnish that back in. So you don't want to leave these little streaks and stuff. That adds just a little bit more. Makes that tummy lighter for me. How do you make something lighter? You put something darker next to it, always. Okay, I'm going to do a combination of the two just so that you guys can see. This dark color, I'm going to put in these darker spots, and then the ones right on the very back and the ones on the head, I'm going to use. This is Crimson Red. So We're going to go around the eye lightly, and then we're just going to fill in this little triangular spot. There's one on the back side of the eye. Something. It's not perfectly even. None of these spots are uniform in any way. So, you know, make them different shapes, different, you know. They are kind of, well, no, not really. I'm going to say they're kind of going in the direction, but they're not. They are so random, it's not even funny. Looks like lipstick. We'll go with that with the dark, but when I put the green back on top, it will tone that color down. So that's too funny. So. Ooh. That is green. I'm going to put a little bit of darker green in there. Into that outer part of his eye. And then there's a black line. That's not black. What is that? Sepia. Oh goodness. Here we go. Let's go back to the black. There we go. Put that kind of eyeliner on there. And the pupil part. That is definitely black. And then that's lime green. So we're going to go with that bright green. And then there's a little bit of the lime green is up here. So where that lime green is right there is the shadow of the lid. So we're going to come back and put that shadow part back in. And then using our red or the brown, whichever one you choose, you can put that little bit of a shadow. I think I'm going to go with the brown. Oops. Pushing that green back a little bit. And there's a little bit of bright green, whoops, bright green at the bottom, underneath the eye. And that is very, very tiny line. And there are some little lines coming up from his mouth, I guess. That you see there? Yep, goes a little bit behind the eye. Okay. Now let's put that black back in so that we keep his eye pretty bright. And I'm going to burnish that colored part of his eye, the bottom part of the colored part of his eye. And then add in that little shadowy color. And we're just gonna keep alternating these reddish and brown colors. You're just going to follow all those little patterns that you see. These that go all the way across are definitely darker, so I'm going to stick with the brown on top of the Now this space right here starts where the dots start. So I'm going to skip over that and go on down the back. You can literally just make this up too. If you don't have all the spots drawn in, just follow what you see, or you can just make up a pattern. It's just kind of fun. Get to play with character development or something. Like we do in manga class. Sorry. Really shouldn't do that. Okay, I think that's the biggest one right here at his leg, and then that starts in with these a little bit darker ones, and I think I'm going to go to my sepia. Kind of add a little bit of sepia into this one. Maybe it's the sepia, because it's starting to pick off that color already. So I might come in and just, do a light drawing. There is this kind of cool line that goes down the center, and there's stripes on the sides, just barely. And then there's stripes going around this side. Parallel those. So let's get those in. And this line right here stops right at this big toe. That's about right. And there's one coming up by itself. Then the next one goes all the way across. And I did not do the fade into the brown that I wanted to, so I'm going to do that before I start putting in too much of these blacks, because I don't want the blacks to burnish into the brown. I want them to stand out on top. And gonna make it even more orangier. Add a little sepia. Not sepia. Sienna. Sepia is too dark. This gives it a nice little reddish tone. And then we're going to burnish those together. Those brown tones with the green. Now I can finish my stripes. As it gets down toward the bottom, here they actually turn a redder brown. They're not as dark. So to put that on top of this sienna brown makes it a browner tone. You can do it either way, actually. So you can put the dark brown down first and then put a little bit of sienna on top. Works the same way. All right, so we have our eye, we have part of our mouth, and we have the patterns that you see for the spots. And all we have left are all these dots, which is quite a few. Yes, I did choose this project. So I can't say a thing. So we're going to sharpen our sepia, the mint green color that we had, and our white. We'll see how much longer this white will last. And we may have to put the white in with the gel pen, which I've already picked out. It's just a jelly roll. So on the back of the leg, there is a little bit of a shade onto this green, as well as this knuckle or knee or whatever you want to call it. There is shadow on this part of the toe. I'm sorry. This orange part right here is actually a shadow. So there's a little bit of shadow on this toe, a little bit of shadow on this knee. So we're just going to kind of add a little bit of color into those little bits that we see. There is a little bit right here. This is the eye on the other side, and it is a little bit darker. I want a nice crisp line to show what's gecko and what's background. So put that back in a little bit. Okay. So here goes the dots. Oh, already broke it. Just keep turning your pencil around so that you keep the sharp point headed down the to the tip. And this arm right here has hardly any brown. It's a little bit there, a little bit there, and it's lighter. So we're not going to put it very dark. Tiny little bits. That's lighter on the bottom. In his stomach, you could use green dots on top of there. That's going to be kind of hard to show up. It almost looks like there's a brown background and a green, lime green dot in the middle of it. So we're just gonna stick with the dark dots. He's still gonna look like a cool lizard. It's all the way up into here. And they kind of go in a pattern. But no, they don't. They are pretty random. Makes me wonder if it's like our fingernails. How everybody's is a little different. Right here at the leg, it goes into a bright green area, so there's no brown there. So we can put in some medium brown over on this side, going around to that shadowed side. And then it comes up and around onto the tail area. Has a little bit. And then it ends. Those little dots end. There's a little bit of shading on this foot from the tail. And where this front leg goes onto the back leg. And that curve part. And then that's orange right there. There's a little bit of brown here and there. Just a little bit. So let's go ahead and finish these guys. Whoops. Oh, we're so close to done anyway, so I'm going to put a little bit of the brown on the bottom, just showing that shadowed side. Very, very soft touch. And into this part, I'm going to burnish that green. Okay. I'm gonna put these other colors down. Oops. If you do these little white dots, they're just really not going to show up. So you can do some of these, whoops, tannish dots, and they too are not going to show up very much, and just barely there. So what we're going to do is take our Jelly Roll pen and make sure it's going good. And we're going to make our little dots, and some of them, you're going to make a ton of them, because some of them you want to come back and put that other green onto. And some of them you're going to want to leave white. You know, the green shows through some of these. You may want to just do a second coat on the white ones. There is some brown in this forearm. Just kind of softly put those lines in. Goes over this way, and behind the leg there's a little bit. It's just slight color change. You don't want to press hard with a Jelly Roll pen. It's a ball on the end and it needs to roll. If it's not rolling, if you're pushing hard, it's not going to do anything. Just FYI. Sometimes you have to go over them twice too, so the ones you want to stay green, just leave them, and the ones you want to whiten, then go back on a second coat. There's a couple behind the eye, and just a few dots down here at the bottom. Okay. Get a few on this other leg. And then we're going to let them dry. It does take quite a while for, you know, you don't want to run your hand across there in any way. You don't even want to run the brush across there, because you'll get little white flecks in your brush, and then it could scratch up your brush. But you can put colored pencil over the top of these, like if you wanted to do the kind of tealish color, or I mean this mint kind of color, you can. Now you can't really tell the difference in these toe colors, I mean shapes, because the color is the same. So we're going to come in and add a little bit of the brown that we use for the spots, and kind of give some definition to these toes, because they're not really showing up. So we're going to do that. It's just a little bit. What's going to make that show up more is the shadow. I already edited on those. I'm actually adding some brown going around those little white spots. Makes those white spots show up even more. And this little part of the leg there is definitely darker. And it does help those little white spots to show up if you put a little bit of dark on them. I mean dark around them. So I'm going to put some dark on and then put the white on top of the dark. Hope y'all can see those little dots. All right, let's go ahead and put in our shadow color, and it is a combination. I'm going to use the sienna brown with the gray. You can see that there's kind of a gray tone, especially here, but to soften the edges along the body. Yes, comes out right in here. So I'm doing this really light. You don't want to have a real hard edge on the outside. If you have any kind of hard edge, it's underneath the gecko. So it should be darker there. And it is a touch orange. So if you want to add that in too, go for it. I need to put a little bit of blue right there. I don't know if y'all saw that on y'all's, but it is there. This is not sienna brown. Look at that. This is chestnut. Sure is. Okay, well, that's that reddish brown I was using for the spots. This is sienna. Yep. There's a difference. I'm going to add a little sienna, especially right along the body. Give it that warmness. Because that chestnut is kind of a reddish, like a burgundy-ish brown. I don't know how else to say that, but that is the way it is. I don't think I want to add the gray. It is very, very warm shadow. It's a very warm shadow. So I might just burnish it with, you know, like a yellowish cream color. Let's see what we got here. Is that sand? Yeah. It's pretty yellow. Well, that's not exactly what I want to do either. Is this light peach? Yeah. Kind of tone down some of the color. Yeah, gives it a warmth that doesn't cause a too yellow of a color, because it's not really that yellow. I'm using a light peach. You could use peach. If you don't have peach, that's just light orange with the white, burnished white, and then you could add just a little bit of a golden ochre or something to it to kind of tone down the orange a little bit. And I'm going around just the edges of the shadow, just to kind of soften those into that white of the it's burnt ochre. Here it is. I need to put a little bit of that sienna there. Just to soften it away. You could use the blue in the background to do that as well, whichever one you want to choose, just to kind of soften. See how it softens the edge? It's not a hard edged shadow, so we're going to kind of push the color away from that edge. Whoops. Trying to take that one off, and it's actually a spot, but here we go. Okay, guys, you're not done with it until you're really, really happy with the progress of it. And this is where the gray really kind of comes in to the shadow. It's where the head is lifted up farther than the body part is, because this is very warm, starting right here all the way down, and then it kind of grays out into the background a little bit. So we're gonna gray down this top. I don't know what's going on with these pencils. They sure are melty tonight, and it's only like 50 degrees out there. I can't imagine it being so hot that the wax would want to act like this. Just blending and blending into itself. Alright guys, this is our gecko. He is very, very bright if you use the same colors that I used, but you can always tone it down by putting another layer of blue over the gecko. And but I kind of like them bright, but that's, you know, up to you what you want to do with your little guy. And I want that eye to stand out just a little bit more. So how do you make a bright color brighter? You put dark next to it. And of course, the darkest dark we have is black. So I kind of like him. I think he looks cool. I like the that he's so bright, and that this is, it's more of a brighter day. So this not being as black as the actual picture is going to work out fine. But if I were going to do this again, and if you haven't started yet, you can actually add a light coat of gray, watercolor pencil, watercolor, light gray marker, whatever, into that background first. And if it's watercolor pencil, you know, add the water onto it to get rid of the white of the paper, and then you're not going to have the problem of all this plumage that's going on. So I hope you had fun doing the gecko, and I can't wait to see what you have done. Send me your pictures. I get so excited when people send me their pictures, so send them away. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.